I've been following your company for the last couple of years, and I've got to say, it looks like 2024 was your best year yet. And you wrote in your annual letter that sales have been, very strong, and you're serving some of the largest Fortune 500 companies in your pipeline. And you've been calling your new partnership with Nordstrom our cornerstone enterprise customer. So you've been getting a lot more media attention. There are many more CEOs who know what Verneek is doing. Thank you for this video explainer, but I still think there may be people in this room who don't really know what Verneek does. So keep it simple. And what is the value that you bring to your new customers?
Absolutely. So first and foremost, thank you so much, Susie, for doing this. And thanks to all the esteemed guests for being with us tonight. This means a lot, having all of you guys in the same room and during the NRF Big Show, which is really a fantastic way for all of us to come together. So back to Verneek's story. As I think you all saw in the video, we are a deep tech company. We are very much based in New York, born and raised in our city. And we're all about making it so that consumer enterprises, and in particular retail enterprises, get to have this AI platform that ingests all of their business data, structured, unstructured, their policy documents, their bits and pieces of knowledge, and centralize it so that they can start operationalizing it using conversational AI for search and discovery across business functions. So what does that mean? A lot of kind of talking points. You will see it concretely a couple minutes from now when you see a live demo. But really what we do is that we help our AIs, to answer the questions for your back office employees or for your actual customers so that they can all get augmented in their day-to-day lives. And it's really a way to elevate the enterprise productivity, as we've been always talking about. So I love to call AI augmented intelligence, as you see in the programming today, because we truly believe that AI as a tool is here to help all of us get 10x, either as a consumer or, again, in our day-to-day jobs inside enterprises. And that's exactly what our platform enables.
So a lot of things to think about there. And then one more I'm going to throw out, because you tell me that everybody now is talking about agentic.
Yes.
AI. Okay.
I know.
So not to confuse everybody, but what does it mean? And as an accomplished AI scientist, what's your position on this?
Yes, good question. Who here has heard the name AI agents this past year, 2024? A lot. Almost everyone, right?
Half the room.
Oh, a lot. I mean, that's I think that tells you, right? So yet another marketing term, if you will. And we started the company 4 years ago now. We have been all about real, authentic AI, all about AI native. And of course, with AI agents, let's go back in history. We, Omid and I, when started our careers in AI, we used to call them dialogue agents. So what are real dialogue agents? Dialogue agents are these AIs that get to ground themselves in an environment, perceive it, meaning fully understand it, and off of that perception, start taking actions on top of it. And they would take actions in order to accomplish certain goals. So that is really the pipeline of what a true agent would do. Just if you think about it, a human agent, when you call a call center, does that, right? They can take actions, they understand the environment and all of that. So unfortunate reality is it's being used as a marketing term these days. So anyone and everyone of these SaaS companies is like slabbing their, software with what I call AI plating, as we kind of alluded to in the video, to just make it sound cooler. And they call it Agent Force. Let's not name names. Who does that? And they're calling it whoever else that has their own AI software. And the truth is that those are the kinds of AIs that the second you dig a millimeter in, just like gold versus gold plating, they fall apart. And our position on agentic AI is that we have built a platform that makes it so easy to orchestrate these AI agents in a way that you can have consistency and accuracy across your business functions. So let me give you an example. We are here amongst a lot of consumer enterprises, and you have customers who want to, for example, know what coupon applies to them if an item that has gotten delivered is broken. And imagine if they get an answer when they go to your .com website, and another answer completely different when they call a call center, and your employees could get a different answer if they're looking internally in a basically internal portal. So this lack of consistency is what we are trying to avoid by our AI that will become really that centralized brain, if you will, of an enterprise that helps you get basically productive over time and really make no mistakes.
Examples always help. So I'm going to ask you to give us another example because Nordstrom is now your cornerstone enterprise customer. You say, so congratulations for landing that deal. When and you service a lot of retailers.
Yes.
You really know the retail business inside and out. So give us an example within that. Like, how are you helping Nordstrom specifically to solve some pain point, some difficult issue that they have? If you can give us an example,
Absolutely.
Make it really simple.
Yes.
That I think we all understand retail. So
yes.
give us an example.
Yeah, so that's first and foremost, since we mentioned Nordstrom, for Omid and I, we started this company really from nothing. This is our livelihood. I don't call something live and work. This is living for us. So our partnerships are very, very, close to our hearts. We pick and choose human beings that we want to work with. So I think our partnership with Nordstrom is very much, due to amazing human beings like Jason, Morris, the CIO. Where is Jason? Somewhere you'll see him on the panel. And then, of course, Kevin Evans, that really made it so that we wanted to lean in. But of course, Nordstrom is a household name. We've always shopped there, and they're known for their innovation. So now back to what our partnership with Nordstrom, which we believe will be very key for the many years to come for us mutually. So the platform that we have makes it so that you get to orchestrate, again, a variety of AI use cases the second your data is ingested. So what was so interesting about our experience with Nordstrom, which Jason will talk a little bit more about, is, of course, we could point these big guns to anything. You could have an employee-facing AI. You could have basically that does HR. You could have a call center augmentation. You could do anything and everything. But talking about walking the talk on AI, what was so brilliant, I would say, about what Nordstrom did was that they realized that from the IT department, they have their own use cases. So one of the first ones to roll out was their augmentation of their IT help desk. Which really, if you think about it, all of us go to a retail store, we are shopping, and then sometimes the POS device breaks down. Sometimes the receipt printer is not working. All these store employees have problems. They call human beings and IT help desk that are a cost center, of course, to the headquarters, and they're not necessarily 24/7 available. They're not the most accurate in what they do. There's a high churn in terms of course, what they know and they don't know. And so what brilliantly I would say they did was to help their IT help desk agents to get augmented with our AI so that they can, cater to the needs of the store employees better. And that is immediate productivity boost, as you can imagine. So they will, of course, talk about the ROIs, but it's a no-brainer that when you give every employee of yours AI, they can be more accurate and consistent and better at what they do.
So it's like you're really a problem solver, whether it's front office, back office, IT, whatever. There are so many other big tech companies, ServiceNow, Google Retail Search, Salesforce, that are also Zooming. These are big, powerful companies. How do you stack up to make that your business is better, faster, stronger than the best in class?
Very good question. As you can imagine, we get that all the time. as I was saying, this phenomena that I call AI plating is happening left and right. But the beauty of what we do is that we started things from scratch. No matter how much ServiceNow tries, no matter how much Salesforce tries, no matter how much Workday tries, they have a lot of legacy software. And the truth about the state of affairs in AI now is that everything has changed in a way that AI can sit directly on top of data. And a lot of those bells and whistles about legacy software that these SaaS companies have had for decades of monopoly that they've had is no longer necessary. So that means we get to be the AI native company that they just inherently are not. So in my opinion, in the next 5 years or so, we are going to see a major transformation in the software world, which really would shake up the system. And of course, the very, very big guys have enough money in the bank to survive, and there's no question that they'll be around. But the more, the smaller, I would say SaaS companies are definitely going to be very much impacted.
So you and Omid from the get-go decided you were going to focus on retail. And you know it now, this business inside and out. But your technology, your know-how, your problem solving could be a business tool to help many other businesses, right?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, actually, let's talk about that.
Are you thinking of possibilities outside of retail down the road?
Yes, good question. I mean, let's first and foremost, since we are in the room with a lot of retail executives, let's talk about that. When we, 4 years ago, started a company and we told people that we are building this domain general intelligence, which no one understood at the time, by the way, this is before ChatGPT, right? And then we said, we want to point it to consumer retail now. Everyone was like, what? Like, why would you do that? And as you can imagine, your kind of average Silicon Valley folks do not necessarily understand or love the world of retail for all kinds of wrong reasons, I would say. But the reason we picked retail now for everyone is clear in the hindsight, but the reason we did it is that, as you see, we have a search and discovery AI platform that makes everyone make better and faster decisions. So when that's the tool that you have, why not go after the sector of the economy that employs the most number of Americans, being retail, literally 24% of Americans being employed by retail, and serving the most number of consumers in aggregate, which is literally retail. So what we're doing here is really a microcosm of what the world of enterprise should be all about, and we just happen to have this specialty in retail that we adore, and I believe for the next many years of the company will be our primary focus. But yes, of course, what we do and what you will see in the demos, almost any enterprise executive would want to have, I bet.
All right, so looking ahead, let's say 3, 4, 5 years from now, how do you want people to describe what Verneek is doing?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think maybe I would say the same thing that I always said, that I believe that a couple of years down the road, whether or not that's 4 or 5 or 6, I don't know. I want us
the
to
year 2030.
2030.
Verneek, that's the company that does.
Yes. That's the company that is the standard of knowledge, search, and discovery for enterprises everywhere. That is definitely what I believe we are very well positioned to be the leader in, and will be.
How are we doing, Jen, on time? Can we take a few questions? All right. Any questions? Phil, you got to ask a question. Phil's my colleague. He's our retail expert.
So Corey Barrett's CEO, that's fine.
Yes.
That's a very, convention, like, even military, not, then he was asked, she said, retail has become digital. And personally, as a big also, I even fact as a button, which is me, which is but it's, I'm wondering if, it's a question that people can tech make retail yours if you start to have too many things that can be solved by machines selling it? So I'm just wondering, there's a lot of thought.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very interesting point. Yeah, and let's make this every year. This is a very lively conversation. So you guys are not guests. Please participate. But let me tell you my 2 cents. As a consumer myself, I believe that I want, and as an AI, like someone obsessed with AI my whole life, I think it matters that I think this way. AI should be the background, not the foreground. The reason we call AI augmented intelligence is that we believe it should be a way to make you, as the consumer, have a sidekick, and that's it. So I think that when done right, AI can bring joy, actually, back into shopping. My personal pet peeve are the dumb search bars on the .com websites of every e-commerce website, which is the ones that we are not powering, which, a lot of majority, right? So that is, to me, a very joyless way of shopping. When I enter a store and I'm left to my own devices and I can't find anything, because guess what? Even in Neiman Marcus or other like Louis Vuitton, whatever store it is, it's very expensive to hire an expert on the floor that can help me have a concierge way of shopping. Like speaking of Nordstrom was known for this way of operation, right, for decades and decades, but it's not scalable at this day and age. I mean, look at the macroeconomic situation. So the truth is, I am joyless when I walk into a store and I'm left without help. And if I can have that sidekick, it will bring that joy back. It's a little bit of a technocratic answer. Naturally, I'm biased, but I actually think that there are two sides to that coin if done right. I would love to hear any other thoughts from maybe especially luxury retailers who are all about that human element.
It's needed. The keyword that you are actually in the car with Mazda in a large shop like you, in short, you would say, oh, I'm here for this event or for this occasion. And I think that's why hopefully conversational sex with the way more that goes back and forth interaction is not just talking because actual stuff like the part. And if you want to help user, right? Hopefully he'll be more direct.
Other questions for Nasrin? Yes.
I'll jump in. Where do you see like the inflection of what you're doing, right? I'm not an expert chat, as speaking reporter. I see the help with the chat. Right? That's something that experience is going to touch. Right? Or to some extent the search that you're talking about. But I'm curious where you think what is needed and at what points do you need from in a way that really affects consumer behavior. That's not how my brain starts to get. Right? So like when does my brain start to hit what she starts to that way? And like what are those points? What are these touching?
Wow. It's an excellent question, and so good to see you, Sarah. But the thing about technology and any platform shift like AI is that it takes time, right? Change is inherently hard on us, like as human beings. So I think it's a matter of time for us to see how the society as a whole is going to grapple with this platform shift. But if you think about it, like back in time, it was a foreign thing for us to be on our phones and look down and like browse. Nowadays, when you are on New York subway, everyone is shopping on their phones. Like people are, women especially, of course, when you look down, everyone's just scrolling to find, items and browse. And that would have been unfathomable, like even 12, 13 years ago. So I think the inflection point for the adoption of AI is going to be when, this is again goes back to Verneek, but when we get to really roll out the technology to enough portion of the population that makes it default way of interfacing with environments. This could be a physical store that you walk in. This could be a digital space. And let's take it back to retail. To this day, still a majority of shopping is happening in brick and mortar. Whoever thinks that e-com is like an Amazon is like completely making physical retail extinct is just not paying attention to what is happening. So I believe in this physical nature our being, right? I don't agree or believe in metaverse by any stretch of imagination. So I think the inflection point of AI will come at a time when we, as one such player, get to roll out our AI in more and more stores, so that when you walk in, you know that you have help. You have an AI that has deep understanding of that environment that you're grounded in and can help you as a shopper make better and faster decisions. And I think then the rest is history. And what is that inflection point? Like, I don't know, 5% adoption across retail stores. But I think it's just a matter of time. And I hope that we get to become the company that gets to bring it to fruit.
As we were preparing for this conversation, that as you go and talk to the CEOs or C-suite executives of retail, that they've been bombarded by AI.
Yes.
Companies coming to them to pitch AI solutions, and they're overwhelmed.
Yes.
So, I mean, what is it going to take for them to absorb and look more constructively that this could really help my business, bring more business, make it more joyful? How are you dealing with that human aspect of decision making?
Yes, well, I need advice from all the executives in the room as well. I mean, I always say our biggest headwind as an AI native company is noise. There's so many pretenders out there. There's so much, right? It's like AI is the hip new thing. Now everyone, of course, wants a piece of the pie, and people have realized, including CEOs, that it's here to stay. So there are more and more players that are introduced to the market. So I think what we have going on for us is that we've been doing this for so long that it's clear that we have mastered our art, if you will. And it's not really science, right? There's so much iteration, there's so much co-creation that happens. What I see as the model, which the next panel is going to be all about, is this trainer box, which of course Nordstrom has pioneered, and we've seen a lot of our other Fortune 500 customers lean into that, is that CEOs need to partner up with the right business executives to be on top of their AI strategy. And this is a conversation I'm having with a lot of CEOs. Like I was at NRF Gala last night on Colleen's from American Express table, which was so amazing. And I talked with a whole bunch of CEOs that I hadn't met during 2024, and the sentiment is the same. Like, I want to do AI. I don't know where to start. Can you help us figure out what the right strategy should be? And of course, just because we've been there, done that, we lean in and we help strategize. But really, I think the model, the rinse and repeat model, is now proven since we've been in business for long enough. And I would not have said that last year, by the way. Now, I'm a scientist. Statistically significant data points have been now collected so that we know what the CEOs should do.
Well, this was a great conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Good luck.
Yes. Thank you so much.
We call it salad. It's kind of trying to shop in this store of ours. We call it Naked Store because Verneek, and
you open that store.
our merch is available today on our website. So, and they're kind of trying to find a bag, and then, but they don't know exactly what they know what exactly they want in their mind, but they don't know exactly, they don't see the bag there. So we wanted to showcase me, which is playing the sales associate in this demo. How can I help this person to achieve, basically to sell to them what exactly they want? Conveniently for me, there will be a lot of problems that happens in this demo for me, and I'm going to try to solve them and use AI as much as possible. So basically what you just saw was a combination of a human, bunch of AI agents from the same brain working together, trying to solve a problem, selling items, giving recommendation, all together in one platform. And that's basically what Verneek AI kind of provides for our customers and the capabilities of Verneek AI.
Question.
Absolutely.
A lot of it, this is very sophisticated. It shows the power of what you've got. A lot of people don't want to go through a lot of this.
Mm-hmm.
Let's say my husband was buying this bag for my wife. I'm not going to go up to 50 bags. I said, how fast can I get out of here?
Yeah.
This is the one that she wanted. Could you do that?
Yeah, absolutely. yeah, we probably in that process we will ask like, okay, what is the account number you have on your watch, and immediately we know what the purchase history was. We know all the recommendations, so we can say like, Fred, this is the bag. She would love this one bag. I know that. Believe me, she would
There's
like it.
3 things and look at the shoes. I'm not gonna do it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, we can definitely be helpful even for people that are buying for someone else. But just to kind of summarize it, this is like the capability point of view. Is like how all these systems seamlessly work together. This would have been like hours of like IT support and sales and managerial involvement and everything and anything, and all came together in just like very seamless way. So thank you so much.
What I'm hoping to do is actually set the stage for all of you through 3 different perspectives. We have a CEO perspective that also brings the board point of view about what is being expected and said about generative AI and expectations, because I think that we are very stuck in the phase of proof of concept without getting value that goes to scale, at scale. You may have a scale use case, but they're looking for the scaled impact of generative AI, because we've been in the AI business a long time. We have the strategic end-to-end view, somebody whose job it is to actually look end-to-end at the strategy, and in one of the most disruptive technology times in a career, which Michelle speak to. And then we've got the man in the middle here, the tech guy in the middle who's being asked to bring forth in an ecosystem of innovators, internal and external, all of that. So what I want to do is start with you, Philippe, if we could. You have worked in the luxury organization globally for a very long time, and you come with a very unique point of view of how CEOs are thinking about this disruptive period. 3 out of 4 CEOs and boards said that AI and generative AI would be a priority in 2024. And the first question I had is, what the hell's wrong with the other 25%? And what was that kind of dialogue that was taking place in boards and in management teams that might get to the point of being oversaturated with too much AI talk, and that maybe they think it's a fad and maybe it's going to change? So from your perspective as a CEO, what is going on with AI and its progress in the enterprise?
Well, that's not an easy question to answer. I think, well, you talk about fads. We have had blockchain, we have had metaverse, etc., etc. Yeah. And they have been like gimmicks used here and there for marketing ideas, but they by no means have been transformative in the, at least not in the business I know, the luxury retail business. That's one thing to say as preamble. Another thing to say as preamble is, with all these new technologies, it's always very difficult within an organization to place them in the right place. Are they in the operational department? Are they sitting in the IT department? Sometimes there's no digital department, which is kind of fighting against the IT department because nobody has really explained what's the difference between digital and IT. And so you have this thing, so everybody owns it and nobody owns it. And I think what boards and CEOs have to be saying is that this is about productivity, and productivity is critical for survival. I mean, I launched many years ago, when I was at Louis Vuitton, for the first time we had our retail performance management as a discipline. So we created a department which looked at retail performance. So what is retail performance? Well, it's all these KPIs. I mean, sales per employee, average transaction per customer, average customers per employee per hour on a weekly basis, etc. So you looked at that and tried to optimize it. Now, this has become incredibly difficult for many reasons. A, product ranges are becoming more and more complex, and the requirements of customers in the product ranges are more and more complex. Customers are asking about what is the origin of this leather, or where is this jewel coming from? Is it made in Russia? Is it made in here or there? So customers are more demanding, product ranges are more complicated. Then there are more constraints in terms of the back office processes about CRM and about confidentiality and about this and all that. Then you are in a world where, especially since COVID, the tenure of staff has gone down in retail in a massive way. So some of the LVMH organizations in retail have a turnover of staff of above 35%. Meaning that every year a third of your staff is leaving, and you have to hire new people. They come in, they have no idea what they're talking about. You have to train them, and they're only going to stay that long. So the longer the training time versus the time where they're going to be effective selling, well, the less of the productivity. So where in the past you could rely on having a lot of very well-trained people who had been there for 20 years or 10 years, they knew the range by heart, they knew all the tricks and things, they knew what you do when somebody comes and purchases with credit card or wants a reimbursement, but not on the credit card, they knew how to do that. I mean, the young people who you hire now, they don't know. So that's where I think AI has a role on different level on productivity. On the top line, on the sales line, because it helps you to sell better, to make the transaction more fluent, as we saw in the example early on, to be better at advising the customer and be faster. People are impatient. Be fast. Secondly, it has an impact on front desk productivity in the sense that if you have to train your people less because you give them better tools, if they are faster working efficiently because you give them something which helps them to be efficient, well, you get more productivity from them. That's pretty obvious. And then the back office productivity also plays a role because so things happening in back office, if you can link them to the front office, the way you see it's also productivity driving. So I think where the boards need to come into the game is to say, hey, we need to see an improvement of 5 and 10% of productivity, show us how to do it with AI, and create these transversal project teams between digital, IT, and the actual operating teams so that you're going to deliver that. And then it will be delivered. And it will, like tools like what we have seen, I think, if they apply to that particular company in the proper way, will definitely deliver 5 to 10% productivity in the sales staff.
So I think this end-to-end view from the CEO and board has an expectation of this connected brain in the middle, because no longer is fix this process and fix that one. There's this connected brain thinking in the middle that you are really seeing is the perspective that's coming out of the CEO. How about the strategy side of things? So now you're running a business. You have a 3 to 5 year strategy. You have the bomb of generative AI that comes out. You don't know exactly what the impact is going to be, Michelle, but your job at ex-McKinsey, and very, very important remit is how do you pivot a strategy? What is different about how you do this? Who's around the table doing that? And so that you can both continue to fly, but you can actually have a highly impacted organization through Gen AI. Yep.
So thank you, by the way, for having me. I think for us, it's about how do we accelerate this strategy? So what is this kind of new capability or set of capabilities that can get us where we want to go faster and more productively than we otherwise would? And so if you say, what is strategy for us as a premium airline? Above all, customers want an on-time, reliable operation. Beyond that, they want an elevated experience. If you're a premium airline, that's partly product, but it's partly just the experience that you have end-to-end throughout your journey. And then we have 25 million SkyMiles members who are very active, who really expect over and above that, a high level of personalization. So if you look at all of that, AI can play in all three of those. So it's a question of where first, and how do you meter that in a way that keeps pace with what the technology is kind of prepared and not yet prepared to do, but we also need to build our own reps and our own confidence in what it's going to deliver for us. So for us, we started with, how do we just help our people be better? So our version of the sales experience is, how do we help the people on the other end of the phone to get information to you faster? We have lots of complicated policies. You have lots of questions. How do we help them get your answer quickly? Nasrin and I laugh because we trained our model on, can I take my pet bird to Mexico in cabin? It's not an easy question to answer, but AI actually gets you that answer like that. So,
Can you?
forget, I think you can.
But not in Nevada.
Depends on the type of bird.
We'll look at it on my phone after this. I'm pretty sure you can, but not in a lot of other places. But I actually have it on my phone. We can. You can. Putting things in the hands of our
Can
people.
only feed him with enchiladas.
Yeah.
But the reason that is funny is that we had the same question from Nordstrom. It's like, can I bring a support whatever to the store? So it's prevalent.
Well, it was a support, interestingly enough, it was a support bat,
Ah,
right? Because they wanted to see if they could distinguish the context between a baseball bat and a.
As only Gen AI can do, contextually. Yeah.
That's right.
Between a bat and a bat.
But I think you bring up like a super point around policies. There's a whole set of policies that exist that today we're trying to train people on, and we've got 35% turnover in our stores or on our line. I interrupt your thought, but that's a really interesting point.
It is a huge one. Okay, so for us, we said the first thing we're going to do is just help our people be more heroic in lots of different ways. There's summarization capabilities. There's a way to pull a set of policies together and help get answers quickly. Another one that we've been reasonably public with is help put offers together in market. What is it that the customer wants to buy? Like, this is, we have a whole staff of people on the 5th floor of my building who do this market by market all day, every day. And AI actually enables us to do that much more precisely in more markets than they can ever handle. So we're not taking them out of the process, but we are giving them a huge leg up in terms of what is it that the customer wants to buy in market when you go on your app and you start searching for a flight. So those are the places that we started. What we are now moving is to put that more directly in the hands of the customer. So we were at CES on Monday last week and announced what we're calling the Delta Concierge, which is it is an evolution of helping give customers more natural language ways to ask questions, more contextual information as you go through the journey. And it will take us several years to get to the full vision, but we will start rolling out more and more capability in your hand starting this year. So that will be our next spot. The operation, in my mind, is ultimately a hugely valuable one. Is just we got to wait for the technology to get there. And if we say, so what do I mean by the operation? 5,000 flights depart every day. For that flight to get out at precisely the right time, it needs to have several pilots, several flight attendants, all the bags, all the catering, all the cargo. It needs to have a plane coming in on time. It needs to have the maintenance and the fuel, and all those things have to happen pretty magically on time, 5,000 times a day. AI could do an awful lot to make that easier. We just aren't quite there. So we are going to bide our time, and we are going to build our muscle with the kinds of things that I just talked about. And when you're ready, we'll go there too.
So I think you're in some ways leading the way. You were in tech-enabled businesses because airlines were tech-enabled, app-enabled, and now generative AI-enabled in all of that. So if you didn't write down kind of the enterprise concierge, I think that's where retail will have to go, not just in the luxury brands, but in the expectation of all of our customers of having the concierge experience. Personalization, I think all of us have had a tremendous moment of the level of personalization is people like you also bought this. That's personalization. You bought this, so you must be personalized by that. There's no AI associated with that. Is that where the concierge is going to focus, is on the much more information that's personalized, contextualized?
Landing in LaGuardia, what is the weighted baggage claim? At what point do you want to order your Uber? We suspect that you are going to X because that's where you went last time. Would you like us to order an Uber for you there?
Yeah.
Like that's
Anticipation.
It's anticipation. Ultimately, we would like to also be able to transact, not just order the Uber, but can you please book me a flight that will connect myself and my son who's coming from a different city, and we'd like to both arrive at 5. You know, ultimately, we would like it to also be able to put together itineraries and transact. This will be sometime.
Great. So a strategy, you already had the idea of being seamless to operate, and now it's just going to go much more towards the concierge. So now you have the reality of training and turnover. You have new infusions of AI expectations from customers that are going to hit the strategy. And the man in the middle is, okay, you're not getting more money, or maybe you are. But you are there with all of these new incoming expectations. And the key job is this expectation that generative AI has burst onto the scene as a massively accessible capability.
Yes.
So how does Nordstrom's look at that and do things the same or differently in order to achieve an acceleration of really embedding the thought process of native generative AI thinking? Give us a peek inside your world with maybe some examples if you want to.
First of all, it was less money, not more money.
Less money,
Right?
yeah.
I mean, I think
I heard you're going private.
Probably resonated with that. But I think the first key thing is we didn't look at it as a technology problem. It wasn't a technology problem to be solved. We sat down at our executive team level. I sat down with my boss, Susie Gharib, and we talked about what does this mean for our enterprise, and where should we start? Everybody is hearing. The generative AI is going to take over the world. First, what is it? What is it? So we started with executive education. Spent a lot of time with our team, helping them understand, this is AI, this is what we've done traditionally, this is what generative AI brings to the table. Here are key players, here's how we think about it. And then, I'm sure like many of your companies, we came up with a big list of stuff. Right? It's here's all the things we could go do. And then you have to figure out what it is you want to go do. So you can go do anything. Like once you get that list together, you can determine that you can pretty much do anything. The sky's the limit. But at the end of the day, what you want to focus on are the things that further the value proposition of your company. And, it was music to my ears to hear some of the things that you talked about around staff leaving. And, not because they're leaving, because it's a problem we have to solve. And you're talking about, the need to enable customers in a way that is different from how we've ever been able to do it before. And so if you really boil that down and you sit shoulder to shoulder with your counterparts on the executive team, and you say, what is our mission? And at Nordstrom, it's to help customers feel good and look their best. And so what does that mean? How does that manifest? How do we leverage that technology to do it? And a great example of what we did is we have a clienteling app that our stylists use in store to serve clients and also to outreach online. We have that 35% turnover problem, right? And so maybe the stylist you met with last time isn't there anymore. So what we enabled is capability right in their concierge tools to meet with a new customer, to take their entire history with Nordstrom, send it to our Gen AI model, and then it will categorize the style of that individual. It will make suggestions for that individual. We talked about, does AI take the joy out of retail? I think it helps you get to the joy faster, because I don't have to sit there and train the next retail employee about what I actually like, because they should know that. I shouldn't have to do that again. And it's been really compelling. The results that we have seen are just empowering our folks to serve people either they don't know online or folks that show up in the store.
in a better way has been compelling. We find our employees, our stylists love it, and our customers love it. And it helps them to really get things that resonate with them. Another thing we did along the same lines is, very similar to Omid's example. You come in with a purse. Hey, I need to style. I want to buy an outfit that goes with this shirt or these shoes or this purse. Giving Gen AI a seed items, we can come back with an entire outfit that aligns with that person's style profile, the brands they like, the things that they like, the colors, the textures, and give that as a starting point to our stylists. So create a style book and send it online. My point is, if you focus on the core mission of your company and you focus on the thing that's your value statement, I don't think you can go wrong in understanding where to start and getting alignment with your strategy peer, with your CEO, with your chief customer officer. You guys are not looking at it as a technology problem, but looking at it as an enabler for how you're going to achieve your mission. I think that was one of the key successes for us. Now, we have done a lot of other things. We partnered on call center, for example. Took about 50% of the handle time out for our tech call center for our employees that call in from stores. But we didn't think about it as how do we reduce costs. We thought about it as how do we provide a better experience to associates, because that's our core. It's to provide that experience. Now, to do all of that, yes, you have to solve technology problems. Some of those are making sure your data is clean. So Gen AI is going to find data in your enterprise that maybe you don't want to show everybody. So you better have it classified properly. So we're going through a lot of those processes. But it is your job is to be an enabler of the strategy and the mission, and to pair up with your counterparts on the EP and march as one team. And that's what we've done.
I think that the interesting thing about the demo, and I'd love to just hear your reaction, was most of us are being managed by magazine about what AI agents are. You hear it's agentic and all that. We just saw an actual AI demo that fired off an agent that went and created a ticket. I love the whole ding. It was like, ding, and usually that is some associate having to go to some other system run by ServiceNow or whoever and bang out a ticket instead of, I got a down POS in store X that's number Y, and it fires off some ticket on an agent without ServiceNow being engaged and involved in all that. And the agent piece I thought was interesting, and I'd love to hear your comments on that.
I saw mostly that typically in that complicated case that's presented, that sales associate would not find the answer today in one single person. You would have called that department for that part of the question.
Yeah.
And then it would go to this department for that part of the question. And then to that department, where at least here, the entire answer comes from one source.
Yeah.
So that's already an enormous improvement versus what it is today.
So the policy and the information and knowledge
And policies get more and more complex because we get so much pressure on compliance and things like that. And the manuals get bigger and bigger. And nobody's reading them anymore. I mean, it's impossible to read a manual. I mean, our company, I have no read manual. So I have no idea.
I can't even imagine at Delta, the bird on a plane, not out of Alaska, but it's okay out of California. How would you even know that?
Yeah, I can read. Well, in the old world, you would have looked through many, many, many bulletins until you sifted it out. But actually, we can ingest it, and then AI can handle it.
We can ingest it. I think this is one of the big questions, and I'm going to let you finish, are these big horizontal LLM players who ingest everybody's information, or not, because you don't want them to ingest yours, going to be the answer, or are we going to see verticalized in domains around commerce, like Verneek, who actually use your data? Instead of these big LLM, it's going to be generative AI, but it's going to be small language models. I mean, complete your thought there, but I think we start to really have this conversation about our data and our models versus these highly, highly capable LLMs, and nobody's brought up lawyers and risk. I love that. It's all opportunity up here. But that for truth is what's happening in enterprises. Lawyers are always at the table talking about IP, about IP risk, and other legal related issues on all that. So I'd love, Jason, just, finish your thought, react to anything that you want to.
Yeah, I mean, first of all, when I heard the ding, I was hoping that we could turn the ding off, because I don't think my call center agents would appreciate that very much. But in addition to that, I don't think it's either or. I think that there is a lot of power in having the ability to train these vertical models on your specific data without the worry of that data leaking into the wild.
Yeah.
I do think also there's a place for LLMs. I mean, we're all going to use Copilot. Or at least at some point when it becomes cheaper and more capable, we will all use that. So I don't think it's either or. I think one of the things I really appreciate about Verneek, Omid demonstrated it in his demo, was the workflow capabilities. Because you're not usually wanting to do one thing. You don't get to a point, make the first decision, and stop. It's usually a web of activity that has to occur. And so, the fact that there's built-in workflow and you can train models depending on the vertical capability that you need intelligence around, I think truly is where the power comes from.
Yeah. Yeah, maybe we go to the floor if you have questions. Do we have time? Yes.
I know the LLMs, again, it's going to be with site implications I think the notion of LLMs kind of being able to ingest the data, the models are meant to be simply give you the next word, next character, or whatever. How do you see it's going from policies? I think it's like good policies, competition thing. If you have to make the agentic more reasoning based, right? Because you have humans that are making a competent decisions because they have not only just the data, but they have some other. How do you see this move towards not just a call center, maybe not search, but to truly take data into the highly productive knowledge workers? Where do you see it's going? Is there a model that still needs to be developed, or is there anything like that?
So I think the two things that I would make a comment about is where agentic AI is going to go is a question for next year's AI meeting. Because you're talking about highly reasoned decision-making that I don't think there's a single enterprise that is saying they're going to take man in the middle out of those types of decisions. But in places that take high complexity orchestration but are still pretty discrete, AI agents are going to be beautiful. They're gonna do that. And we have only 5 minutes left. And as I was going through cocktails, one of the questions that I kept hearing is, "What are you doing with Verneek? Why are you hanging around with them? What's the deal with? Why does somebody of your company and your caliber know Verneek, and what are they doing?" Because I think the answer to that is instructive of what we all ought to be thinking about doing in this very complex ecosystem of AI. So, Philippe, maybe we'll just start. What are you doing with Verneek, and what's the thing?
I was at last year's retail show,
Yeah.
and I got lost in this enormous building with thousands and thousands of companies doing thousands of things, and I was stopping at one and the other, and I wasn't really sure what I should think about it. And then as I had to choose, I was invited to several events, including this one, the version last year.
Okay.
It happened that I chose this one because I thought, well, this looks interesting. And what I thought is that I think besides that, we have two very likable founders, which is in itself already reason to be here. I thought the single-minded focus on retail and on this kind of application of AI, I thought that gave it a particular strength. And I thought the examples which were given, I thought were particularly relevant and real. When I had seen in other places examples which were a bit of kind of far away from the reality of your day-to-day work. And so now I cannot tell you whether technology is superior to now another company doing the same kind of work. But what I can say is that, I'm not a technician, but what I can say is that they got the questions right, they got the focus right, they are agile, as I've seen in the last 6-12 months, they're agile and flexible. So I think they're bringing a lot of the criteria together, which could make them one of the most successful players in this world.
So they're vertical, they're fast,
Yeah.
and they seem to be focused on use cases. What do you think, Jason? What's the reason why, Verneek?
I tend not to partner with companies. I partner with people, and when I met Azure and Omid, it was very clear to me the passion around this area of technology. And in addition, I've talked about the differentiator being that you can stop hallucination. It's very vertically focused. You're training on your data. You don't have to worry about it getting in the wild. It's got integrated workflow. And in addition to that, each time we talk about a scenario, they don't assume that they know everything. They're always trying to seek information. And you can see the turn of the crank very quickly. So when we talk about things, they become reality, in weeks, not months. And that's the kind of group that I want to partner with.
Nice. Michelle?
Well, we are stretching the model, I would say. We are, at one hand, a consumer brand and a retailer, and then on the other hand, we're also a pretty intense industrial operator.
Yeah.
So we don't know quite what we're doing for Verneek, but we are trying to take the consumer portions. I talked about our policies. We've ingested a very small portion of our policies, but our ability to move forward on a lot of the other kinds of things that we envision actually depends on us getting a single source of truth for a much richer set of our policies that will apply not just to what the experience is, but to the retail component of it, what we're selling, what we're servicing. And that is where we are trying to see if we can stretch the model into other forms. So just check back with us and we'll give you that.
Yeah. And I would say the Walmart diaspora is very strong and very spread out and smart, very smart. And whether people that have come from the technology or the business side have looked at this verticalized retail model to determine how quickly, very, very quickly, you can gain value and go to scale, the answer has been the same, whether it is a premium grocer, whether it is on the high end of e-commerce. It is speed and the ability to have an installed brain so that you can go from AI use cases into agent-based use cases as well, that you seem to have figured something out pretty early in the market. Just walk the floor at NRF here and you can see people with PowerPoint demonstrations instead of live demos and software engineering. So it's, keep up your advantage because the space is moving super fast. And thank you all for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Good luck.